Hey guys, this is a video covering all the differences between the Chainsaw Man manga and anime. I will be talking about all the major story beats and scenes that have been changed or added to from the manga to the anime adaptation. Not small things like dialogue changes due to different translations or scenes being framed differently, just stuff that has been changed from the source material. Now, I will show some stuff that is one-to-one to the manga, and that's just because I really like how they adapted these scenes. And this will cover spoilers for Chainsaw Man Season 1 and maybe the manga onwards. Now, not much has been changed, and MAPPA has been pretty much perfect in their adaptation from Fujimoto Sensei's original work, but they have taken some creative liberties, and I think they do work for the story and its change into the anime medium, so enjoy. So right away, we get episode 1, Dog and Chainsaw, and we're greeted with an anime-only scene of the door. And we get to see a dream that Denji often has, very ominous scene and some good foreshadowing on Mappa's part. Now the next scene continues with Denji getting ready for his day of work and some really scenic views that I think help set the mood with the lighting. Then it goes right into adapting the manga and page 1, with Denji listing off all the organs he's sold, then going to kill the Tomato Devil. Now, while a lot of this episode and the anime as a whole does go along with the chapter like one-to-one, this makes the first episode cover the same amount of content as the manga, and that is one chapter, one episode. MAPPA does a really good job with a lot of these slower parts of the anime, and a lot of the chapter has been adapted one-to-one until we get to the end of the episode with a lot of anime-only content, with mostly just the zombie devil fight. Once the zombies start chasing Denji and Pochita around the factory, in the manga it's only about 3 pages, and it feels like really fast and effortless, with Denji being sliced up and in a dumpster right after the page turn. But the anime really adds to the scene with a chase scene and Denji hobbling around trying to get away, even using the environment to stop the oncoming zombies. Also, the scene where he's getting cut up into pieces is just given to us differently, with zombies falling on top of him and stabbing him instead of them like just slicing him all together, with it being like really brutal and elongated, and we just hear Denji's screams with stabbing in the background while he wonders why he just couldn't have a normal life. Now the next part of the episode is also one-to-one with the manga, and it really works well compared to the anime. The only differences comes up in the flashback. Denji is just holding Pochita differently when he's cutting down a tree, and we don't get to see the black flower growing out of the tree, some like symbolic stuff that Fujimoto put in the manga. And then we also get an added scene of Denji's leg getting put back together, but these are just some minor changes. The last part of the episode has a lot of new scenes added to just the fighting at the end, and it making it feel like a real battle against these zombies, everything being the same to the manga until Denji first cuts into the zombie devil. After that, the manga has it dead, and we go into Denji massacring all the other zombies. But in the anime, he gets thrown around by the zombie devil, and we get to see more of just how Denji fights. And as he cuts up these zombies, we get some more Sakuga with these zombies getting flung into him, and him continuing to slice through these zombies while the zombie devil cries for him to stay away. Then we get a really cool scene of Denji running through this horde, slicing and dicing all the way through to deal the final blow to the zombie devil. And the rest of the fight is mostly the same as the manga, besides him killing more zombies, obviously. And the rest of the episode does follow along with the source material. So we start episode 2, Arrival in Tokyo, where we start off in the car with Makima, and they change some dialogue around due to a scene that gets cut out later. So the conversation about Denji being Makima's dog and her not needing a dog that says no is had in the car before they would go to get food in the manga. Also, the scenes in the manga that happen right before Denji meets the Muscle Devil, where they are getting their food, are all done in the car. Then, right when Denji is off to go fight the Muscle Devil, like where it would be in the manga, we get all that stuff cut out with the Muscle Devil and the girl and all that fight scenes. Now, this is probably because it just wouldn't go with the vibe of like just the episode as a whole, and animating the chainsaws for such like a short scene would have cost probably too much. But I think nothing is really lost in that episode besides a pretty cool scene, but I'm really okay with it being gone. So instead we get the scene of Denji almost falling over because he's anemic before they buy their food, and Makima explaining that Pochita is still with Denji. Then the legendary scene of Denji getting fed was actually done really good, with the reasons he's being fed different. In the manga, his stomach growls and Makima asks if he's okay enough to feed himself, but in the anime he passes out again and wakes up in a Makima lap pillow. I know this is probably all of our dreams. For the next part, when Denji gets to Devil Hunter HQ, when Aki pulls Denji out of the room, and we get to see this painting that somewhat resembles the one in Makima's house. Next, we get an anime scene of Denji not being able to tie his tie that Makima will later do for him, while in the manga, it's somehow already tied. The only part of the next scene that is really changed is the dialogue after Aki gets up and hits Denji, after he gets dropped by the testicle devil. But instead of the attack happening, then him getting the last few words off like in the manga, he tells Denji that Makima would never want someone like him, and then gets attacked by the testicle devil. Just a minor change, but testicle devil scene is goated. In the next scene, everything is pretty much the same as the manga, besides the added part of Denji actually eating his toast, and Aki also looking at the toilet paper roll in anger. Now, while the part of episode 2 where we go and kill our first fiend is almost one-to-one with the manga, in the most famous scene in Chainsaw Man, Denji is facing the opposite way. And I don't really think it's a big deal at all, they gotta do what they gotta do. They also cut out a scene right before we meet Power of Denji thinking if he asks Makima if he can touch her boobs, will she get mad? I'm not sure why they left this out. Maybe because we're about to see Power and they didn't want to slow down this scene or something. But the next scene begins with Denji and Power on patrol, and the anime instead puts some dialogue that is just a quick flashback to when we met Power, and it's more cohesive basically, with added scenes of Power looking for devils to kill. But they move some stuff around in this scene, but it does convey the same points as the manga, just in different orders. The last part of episode 2 leaves off in the middle of chapter 5, and it's the scene where Power destroys the sea cucumber devil. The dialogue from the civilian devil hunter is just put a little bit earlier while Power was running, and that ends episode 2 and starts episode 3. With episode 3 covering the latter half of chapter 5, it also covers chapters 6 through 8, but there aren't many changes from the manga besides scenes that are extended, until we get to the end of the episode where the fight with the Bat Devil starts. Once we get into the city, Denji and the Bat are about to land into a building where we get an anime original scene of a lady collecting papers, like for her work. This is the lady who gets yelled at by Denji to leave and inadvertently gets saved. But next we get more anime original fight scenes, and this one is animated like insanely good, with Denji getting a few more hits out on the Bat, and he also saves 2 more civilians, sort of emphasizing that plot point of Denji saving people but not really trying to. We also get an added scene of Denji throwing that car at the Bat and it blows up in his face in a big ball of flames. Then we get the final fight scene expanded on with some cool choreography, and still resulting in that badass panel on the end of chapter 8 and ending the episode. With the start of episode 4, Rescue, it covers chapters 9, 10, and 11 pretty faithfully, albeit Mappa did add some fighting scenes with the Leech Devil, making it have a lot more choreography and a lot of Sakuga. I loved all the extended fight scenes that Mappa has been making, and I think it works really well for this first season, but Mappa did mess with a few of the scenes. This is the most added to fight so far. I really like the animation and just the flow of the fight, but I also really like the scene where Denji, he hides in the scattered remains of the Bat to get a surprise attack. It's just really cool addition, and it shows Denji is like just built different. But after the fight, Denji gets rescued by Aki and Himeno, and we get to see another really nice anime only scene of Aki going to Akima's office and giving her a debrief of the Bat and Leech fight. So we all know Aki wanted to give her something else that started with the D, but this scene does help establish the Gun Devil and sort of solidify that Aki has a crush on Makima, but it also builds up the main cast a little bit more, and it's something that the scene right after this does really nicely too. But the background animation and art just goes crazy for this. Like, I don't know why it has to be this good, but they go crazy. And it shows Aki just getting ready for the day and just general calmness in his house before Power barges in and starts causing chaos. It's pretty chill and slow, and I think it really helps when we get these more cinematic scenes, because it really feels like Fujimoto does write his manga like a movie. He sets up his panels a lot like a film reel, especially in some of more of the recent chapters, but I really love these slower scenes. It really gives us some more time to spend with these characters, and I really appreciate it, because the pacing does get very fast later on, but here is where we get the biggest mistake Mappa could have ever made. They didn't animate Power's toes. Now, the adaptation has been pretty good so far, but this is where I draw the line, okay? You have to be accurate in the adaptation or it will never prosper. Now, in the end, it's fine. I don't really care that much, but I and many other fans wanted to see this scene get adapted perfectly. But other than some dialogue being switched around, the episode ends a page into chapter 12, and the next episode, titled Gun Devil, picks up right where the last one ended with the first fondling scene. The only major differences that happen after this is an extended and added to scene of Denji being just out of it after his quote-unquote completion of his goal. The adaptation of chapters 12 through 15 is just amazing, with so many scenes just perfectly adapted from the manga. And that damn finger scene, what has Mappa done to me? But when we go into the Gun Devil flashback and ostensibly Aki's flashback, there's a small cut panel from the manga where Aki and his little brother Tayo are gonna go play outside, but their parents tell them to come back inside if he feels bad. It's a small cutscene probably to make this part of the episode move faster. But right after this part in the manga, we get a whole death toll of all the attacks and how long they were in the different parts of the world. I'm guessing they took this out again to make the scene not be long so it can be faster, and it would be a good amount of dialogue that would have to be read and stuff. I do think they might add this scene later on in the anime, probably season 2, when we actually get to see the Gun Devil, but if not, I don't think it's that big of a deal, but it does put in perspective how many people get killed. And it is really emphasized in the manga as important, with it taking up 3 whole pages in a 20-page chapter. But I do think that the anime has the liberty to cut it out and get us back to Makima. But after we see this beautiful Miss Makima, we go right to the hotel in the Eternity Devil arc. Before entering and Himeno offering Denji a kiss, they cut a panel where Aki asks Denji if he's actually going to go after the Gun Devil, but Himeno basically just gets to the same point right after, so it's no wonder they cut it. We also have a nice added scene when they're getting into the hotel of Arai chasing Denji, when he starts like pinning him to the wall and lecturing him, and then Power sees this and she goes and joins in and torments him, but then Kobeni follows too, trying to like neutralize the situation. It's just a nice little cute scene that we get to see. But there is a small change near the end of episode 5 where they cut dialogue of Aki asking if he just went to the 9th floor, but instead we just have Arai figuring it out. Then episode 5 ends and we go to episode 6 called Kill Denji. The first difference from the manga isn't until we get to see the flashback of Himeno and Aki, but in the manga there's some panels that show Himeno seeing her old buddy's girlfriend and telling Aki to like leave before she gets slapped, and then a small scene added of Himeno pulling her almond tofu away from Aki when he asked for it. And that's all the changes in episode 6. It adapts parts of chapter 15 until about halfway through chapter 18 pretty much perfectly, and we go into episode 7, The Taste of the Kiss. This episode adapts the rest of chapter 18 and ends when chapter 21 ends, but it starts with the Eternity Devil fighting, and Mappa only adds to this action by giving Denji way more scenes, and he's just fighting and the animation looks so good. It's top tier right here. But the only changes are just added fighting, and I definitely don't mind that. The next thing is that some scenes are just switched around at the start of the rookie party, and it really isn't much. Then during another iconic scene, we get the puke blurred out in the anime. Now I don't have that much of a problem with it, and besides some added scene of Himeno carrying Denji off, that's all that changes in this episode. And episode 8, Gunfire, starts with an anime original scene of Himeno carrying Denji into her apartment. Now I don't know how Denji doesn't wake up after Himeno falls with him on her back. They like smash into a chair, and it was so funny when I was watching it. But we get more of Himeno, which I think is needed because it builds her character up a little bit more, and it's really nice to see. But we get to see another perspective of Himeno trying to do the dirty with Denji, and they also change how he's positioned when he's taking his shirt off. In the manga it looks like he's sitting up, but in the anime he's laying down, and we don't get anything altered until the fight with Katana Man. First, the fight has some added scenes. Second, instead of Akane touching near its mouth, she grabs the snake devil's tail somewhere. But this also gets shown in the next episode of her doing like the manga panel equivalent. That ends the episode with it covering chapters 22 through half of 25. In episode 9, titled From Kyoto, near the beginning of the episode, we get more of the Katana Man vs Denji fight, and it just has some more added choreography looking really nice. Then a little later, we get another anime-only scene of some convicts that Makima has asked for, going to the shrine, and Makima finishing putting on her clothes. I mean, you know me, I love that one. After this, when Kobeni is saving Denji, they cut a scene of her out of ammo trying to shoot Akane, and then we get an added scene of them just driving away. But that's it for this episode, and it covers the rest of chapters 25 through all of 28. The next episode is titled Bruised and Battered. This covers chapters 29 through 21. The first difference is we get a short added scene of the TV broadcast and Power telling to shut up and turning it off. And in the scene where Denji is coming back to Aki's hospital room for his manga, it's added that he has the basket of apples, because in the manga he doesn't. And that's really all the changes on this episode too. So on to the next. Episode 11 is mostly one-to-one compared to the manga, with only a few scenes added, but that's to the near end of the episode. We get an anime-only scene of Denji, Power, and Kobeni talking before the mission starts. Just a nice little scene we get. And then we get some extended fight scenes when we introduce the other members of Division 4. We get another anime-only scene of Aki telling Denji to go look for Katana Man, and a quick elevator scene, followed by more anime original content of some Yakuza members trying to stop Aki, but then they die right away because of Makima. And this isn't in the manga at all, and I think it's really cool because it adds some payoff of Makima meeting with the Yakuza members instead of just nothing happening, because now we know like what actually happened because of her, because she leaves the building right after. But besides a few more added fight scenes between Aki and the Ghost Devil, the episode ends covering chapter 32 and a few pages into 35. The last episode is titled Katana vs. Chainsaw, and it covers the rest of chapter 35 to almost all of chapter 38, but the first difference is when Denji starts to fight the Katana Man. There's a cut scene of the Katana getting down to do his super fast anime sword move, and Denji says like he doesn't want to go through it again, but I actually like this panel because they're both like partially transformed and it just looks super cool. But we get a nice anime only fight scene and it looks absolutely amazing when they're on top of like the buildings and they go on top of the train. It's so nice. But they also have an anime only conversation where Katana Man asks Denji what he's fighting for, and he says exactly what you'd expect: to keep living the good life and to get with Makima. Then when they're in the train, Denji is trying to save a girl, but in the manga she's in his arms. In the anime she's off to the side. But at the end of the episode we get an ending that is just, to me, this is canon. It's just nice to be able to spend time with these characters in a way like we don't get to spend a lot of time with them in general, but getting to see Aki and Power just live life with Denji and have fun, it's really nice. But after the ending we get a really nice 2-minute scene of Aki just smoking, and man, do these slow moments just hit. It just feels so nice to chill with these characters, and especially with the pacing about to just go insane. Like, it's just so fun to just have a moment to relax with our characters. But truly, some of the best parts of Chainsaw Man are these silent, slow scenes where we just get to absorb the atmosphere. But the final change is, in the end, we get to see best girl in Chainsaw Man. Without a doubt, I love Reze, and it does hype us up for the next season where we will come out of the gate swinging. The next arc is personally my favorite, and the action is insane. Like, Volume 6 is just all fight scenes, and that's what's going to be adapted soon, and it's going to be amazing. But here are my final thoughts on the season. It was amazing from an animation standpoint, to the music, to the voice acting. It was one of the best first seasons in anime in a while, in my opinion. And I gotta say something about the 12 different endings. They were the highlight of each episode. I would be waiting to see what the ending looked and sounded like at the end. And in my opinion, it has gotten one of the best adaptations of a manga to an anime. Almost all the source material is adapted, and it stays faithful almost all the way through. It emulates Fujimoto's style almost perfectly, and I do think the next season will take a year or two to come out, which is sort of sad because MAP has a lot of stuff on their plate. But based on how much stuff is going to happen, I think the next season, anime onlys will not have to be worried about. It will either make or break Chainsaw Man, because in my opinion, the content in the next season is 10 times better than anything that has been adapted right now. All we get in this season is really building our characters, a little bit of world building. The next season is the greatness that is Fujimoto. I know I'm hyping it up a little bit too much, but if anybody can do this, it's MAPPA. But that wraps up all the differences between the Chainsaw Man manga and anime for season 1. Thank you guys for watching, and consider liking and subscribing if you enjoyed. It's really appreciated. And peace.